What is good, you guys? Hope you guys are having a good start to your week. Cash day for me personally on Columbus Day. Today was a bank holiday. Obviously, market was still open, but overall, I've noticed bank holidays are kind of weird with volume, just because a lot of things are happening. And another thing that is a little bit unfortunate for anybody on a cash account is that any buying power you used on Friday would have not been settled for today. So a good day to have no trades anyways. But it looks like Tesla did end up playing out, which was something that I was looking at earlier. This thing had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minute push here to the first target. And then after that, we came straight back down. And then we came all the way back up by the end of the day. And we actually have a pretty nice setup forming for tomorrow, which I like a lot. And obviously tonight's lesson is the charting session. So we're going to be going through my watch list A to Z here, figuring out what I like, what I don't like, and yeah, possibly for tomorrow, possibly for the rest of the week, just depending on when these play out. And I know I always go through this A to Z, but since we're already on Tesla, I'm just going to start off on Tesla here and say I absolutely love this setup we have going on here at 430. Now, will I have some other targets in between based off momentum? Yes, absolutely, but we really have pretty easy room up to 440. So that is going to be my big target for this trade. And then if anything above that, really, we have room to rally on this thing. I believe that I said yesterday in the weekly prep lesson that I expected to see Tesla make some sort of decent reversal based off of how much we sold off on Friday and how we were setting up after hours. I would have been very, very surprised if we did not see a large move up after this, at least to this previous resistance area before we decide whether we're going to continue up or whether we are going to come back down. And also, I want to check out NQ here because my thought process was pretty much the same here with NQ. Now, we did get an all right retracement of that sell-off from Friday, but honestly, we are lower than I expected us to be. I expected to see at least 25K on NQ before we started coming back down, which we may still see, but I honestly was expecting that to happen today. And it seems like we pretty much just stayed sideways today, which is really, I mean, it's just fine. Like I said, the setups that we had for today, we weren't able to take advantage of anyways. And still needs to fill the gap down. Yeah, exactly, Racy. I don't know that we are even going to make that whole move before we do that, but for sure. Yeah, I still think we're going to see some upside here on NQ. Obviously, that is less to do with a setup that I'm specifically looking to take and more to do with just speculation there. But I would be surprised if we saw a bigger move down before we saw at least 25K. Okay, Tesla is already going to break my plan for tomorrow right now. So that's a lovely way to start this charting session. Anyways, guys, what else were we looking at today? We were looking at OKLO. This was actually my favorite setup of the day, except there was literally 40, I think there was 49 contract volume on this by the time we got to the level I wanted to take it at. And the stock itself had a beautiful break, beautiful continuation, but contracts just had absolutely no volume. So once again, unfortunately could not take advantage of that. It has been a relatively slow month, but we've been making do. This is normal trading, honestly. I know people get a little impatient, and including myself sometimes. You just have to let that not translate into the market. But I know people get a little impatient with cash days or back and forth type of price action. It is super, super annoying, but unfortunately, there's not much you can do about that. You kind of just have to ride it out until we get to another spot where we can hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, consecutive green days in a row. And then honestly, I think the last big streak was I think it was like 13 days, and then like a couple days were red, and before that 13 days there was another like 24 days, I believe. But either way, really just making sure you are managing risk well is your job in this market. So it is a little annoying, but this is pretty, I mean, I wouldn't say it's normal. I feel like it's a little slower than usual personally, but also if you're going to set your expectations for anything in the market, it would be better to set your expectations for price action like this than it would be to, blindly think that every single day is going to be some crazy setup with some crazy follow through. So anyways, guys, we'll go ahead and get into the charting session here. We'll start off from the top of the list here at Apple. Apple is an interesting one because it honestly looks like it has some decent setups all the time. And then every time that I go to look at it, it's just super slow price action. So I think Apple looks good at today's low of day to the downside. It's going to completely depend on how we get there, if I'm going to take this or not. But the setup itself looks good. On the higher time frames, it looks even better. So I do like that. It looks like we're at least probably going to see yesterday's low of day. I would like to see some continuation below that. But as far as targets go on this, let's see here. I think we could pretty easily see 244 on this. What's the low of this candle? 244.02. Yeah, I think 244 is actually a pretty realistic target for this type of setup. It just, once again, depends on how Apple's moving, because Apple can either move slower than anything you've ever seen or have a move like it did on Friday where it's just like absolutely tanking all day long. So yeah, obviously 245 is going to have some type of support here. These candles really don't mean much, but 245 as a level is going to have some support regardless. So if we look at today's low of day, play this through 245, then have first target is going to be somewhere below this 245 break. Absolute final target would be down here at 244. And then below that, we have plenty of room. But once again, whenever I'm making my targets, whenever I'm setting my expectations, I'm always trying to undershoot my expectations than I am reach too far. I don't want to get everybody's hopes up too high and, nobody ends up taking profits because we think it can have a bigger move overall. And where I do think it's going to have a bigger move, I also don't want that to influence my decision making too much, because at the end of the day, if you have a nice play, you have a nice play. So actually, I don't know what I'm getting this scratch pad out for yet. Apple is being marked. I do like that. Airbnb, let's see, nothing. AMD, I would look at the low from Friday for downside. I don't think I would look at anything before that, but Friday's low for downside looks pretty solid here. Below that, we had a lot of just grinding price action, and the only really aggressive price action we saw was down here at 203. So that's a pretty major target for AMD, but I like that and I don't like that at the same time, because the less decisions that I have to make while I am taking a trade, the better. And when you have targets that are super clear targets and they're close, then you can have a pretty set in stone plan and not have to make up your mind about much. But when you have a ton of room, it makes it a little bit more difficult, surprisingly. When you have a ton of room, you've got to actually make decisions on your targets. So yeah, I would take 207.25 on this. I would be targeting momentum overall. It would be fantastic if we could see 203, but realistically, I don't know that that's going to be able to happen in a single move. So I'm going to be targeting momentum off that 207.25 break, and then possibly even look at 203 for a separate trade. So AMD's marked. ARM shot today. What happened here? Okay. Let's see, what is this? Okay. ARM is interesting at the very least. Contracts had volume. 200 calls had a ton of volume. I would look at ARM. It's not really close right now, but only thing I can really look at this point in time is the high after hours. But I would definitely keep this on my radar. Let me keep this on my radar. Let's see. Is this okay? We are actually we are at all-time highs now, I believe. Okay. Yeah, we are at all-time highs. So 192.45 is a new all-time high. I would keep this on my radar. The 200 calls have too much volume to ignore, to be honest with you. AVGO absolutely shot pre-market and came back down and did nothing for the rest of the day. So AVGO, if it comes back up, I'll still keep an eye out. But in the meantime, there's not really anything there that I'm interested in. Let's see. Coin downside, I would be interested in. Once again, Friday's low, or after hours low. I feel like that's going to be a lot of a similar story across the board here. As far as targets go for coin, once again, we just have a pretty decent amount of room down here. Okay. All right, this was all right. All right, yeah, coin. I like this at the low from after hours on Friday. We are kind of far away right now, so I don't know if this one's going to make the watch list tonight, but it could make the side watch for sure. So that'll stay marked. Costco. This stock needs to just go off my watch list. As a matter of fact, it's going off right now. Circle, nothing. CRM, man, it's all these with no volume have beautiful setups. This is a fantastic looking setup on CRM for me, but contract volume 339 in a day. Like, it took an entire day to get 339 in volume. I can't do anything with that. Crowd is even worse. That's crazy. CRWV doing nothing right now. Actually, crowd needs to be unmarked. I don't know why I left that. Let's see. We had earnings on something this week. What is that? Give me a second. Oh, Interactive has earnings Thursday after close. All right. DAL, nothing. DDOG consolidating at close to all-time highs. No contract volume. Kind of annoying. Well, DDOG was never one with contract volume, but all of our stocks that used to have good contract volume are like fading away. They split them and diluted them and tanked the stocks enough that it's like nobody even wants to trade them anymore. Yeah, possibly, Ray. That's not something that I do, but let's see. Yeah, I mean, overall, I would say that you are probably correct on that statement. It's just not my thing, so I stick away from that. Disney, no setup, garbage volume. Google, we were just here. I don't know. Yeah, Google does not have anything for me right now. Nothing on Hood. Interactive, I'm just waiting till Thursday to see what we do there. I am excited for Interactive earnings because the last time Interactive had earnings is the only time that, actually, the last time and the time before that is the only two times we've looked at or played Interactive, and it was fantastic, super easy move, decent contract volume, but after earnings is the only time that Interactive has good volume. So looking forward to that. Hopefully it doesn't just shoot up, shoot right back down, and give us no setup. Meta, I would be looking at Meta to the upside. Kind of the same story as Tesla here. Looks like it's setting up for some type of reversal. Don't know how big that's going to be, but either way, 721.13, I would definitely keep in mind for Meta. And this, what is that level above that? That was an old support. Okay. Got it. Yeah, Meta at 721.13 I would be interested in. I might even be interested at high of day. Probably not, actually. After that, our next resistance is up here at 721.89, and then we have a ton of room up. So with that being said, I think once again, we're just going to have to target momentum on this. I really am not a huge fan of that because it makes it sound like I'm just being lazy. and don't want to look for a target, but when there is so much room like that, that is about the only thing you can do. Microsoft, you could probably get away with trying to play low of day on this or high of day on this, honestly, but not really any fantastic setups here. MSTR looks like it's grinding up, no setups. MU, I'm interested in MU. 198.25 for sure is going to be something I'm keeping a close eye on. I don't know that I would take anything before that. I feel like the real play here is from 198.25 to the all-time high break at 201. So I do really like that. That looks good. NVIDIA, probably nothing, but hopefully something. Let's see. And these wicks on NVIDIA are killer. I don't know if those are just misprints or if those are actual wicks, but either way, that's insane. NVIDIA, I would look at the pre-market high from today on NVIDIA. Once again, same story as Tesla, same story as Meta. They both, or all three, look like they are attempting some type of recovery here. And I'm actually going to drag this over here before I lose it. But yeah, 190.25 on NVIDIA looks really, really nice. We should have pretty easy room on this up to at least 191.60. So yeah, that looks good. OKLO coming for another new high, or another new all-time high at that. I don't know that there's anything I can do with this, to be honest with you guys. I put it on the watch list today. I gave it a shot just to see if we maybe would get some contract volume, but we did not have enough by the time we needed it, and I have a feeling that is exactly how it's going to go tomorrow too. I may leave it marked here and put it in the side watch. Actually, I think I am going to do that. Leave it marked, put it in the side watch. If we don't have anything tomorrow morning and OKLO is still close, then that's something to watch. Oracle, I would have been interested if we didn't just break the after hours high. PLTR, not doing anything noteworthy. PayPal hasn't done anything noteworthy since 2019. RGTI. This is one that I found in one of our lessons the other night. They ended up breaking after hours, but man, this thing absolutely rallied afterwards. I don't think there's anything for us to look at here though, which is the sad part about that, but whatever. Chop, no. SMCI, no. No. All right. Snow, if there was any contract volume on this stock, I would be interested, but there's not. Man, these all used to have volume. Like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, these all had volume. Like Disney had good volume pretty much all the time. I say good, at least tradable volume pretty much all the time. BA had tradable volume all the time. Airbnb at least had volume sometimes. Now it has volume never. Snow was always a pretty low volume one, but it still had way more than it does now. I don't know. It's interesting. Like I know we see like sector changes in the market as to what's hot and what people are trading, but like I literally ran a scan the other day and the volume isn't even going anywhere. Like it's not going elsewhere. It's just not here. Like it's going to our bigger stocks in this watch list. It's not like there's anything with crazy contract volume that I'm completely missing out on, and that's literally what I ran that scan for, is just to make sure like There's volume on like nothing right now. I have to be missing something. And I was not. XYZ, no contract volume. ZM, no contract volume. See, honestly, the only reason that I've even kept the majority of these in my watch list for as long as I have is because if we ever get a shift back and these stocks ever start getting contract volume again, because I don't want to completely delete them and get rid of them forever. If maybe they'll eventually pick back up again, but geez, it has been non-stop, no volume for like 80% of the watch list for the past at least 2 years, maybe year and a half. I might be exaggerating there, but either way. Okay, Tesla unfortunately just removed itself from my watch list for tomorrow, with breaking that level while we were looking at it earlier. But we do have a decent amount of setups here, or at least a decent amount of possible setups. Yeah, let's go ahead and get to making the watch list here. All right, first things first here. Apple. Unfortunately, we are moving in the opposite direction that we need to right now, but it's all right. Apple, I'm going to be looking at the 245.56 low of day from Monday, which is today. Targeting a move down to the 245 support. After that, my final target will be, target with a G, target will be 244.02. All right, moving on. AMD, looking at the 207.25. I might not be able to type. Looking at the 207.25. Support from after hours on Friday. Targeting a move, well, actually, overall, I will be targeting momentum, but we have room down to 205. Then our next major support after the rally at 203.01. Beautiful. ARM, looking at the 192.45. Did we determine, is this the all-time high? No, it is not. Yes, it is. Sorry. 192.45 all-time high after the after hours rally. Targeting momentum on this setup. AVGO, I'm just going to copy and paste the same thing that I had from today. And that is going to go way down here because it is a side watch. Coin. Looking at the 336.23 support from Friday's after hour low. Have room to our next support area at 334.04. Then my final target will be the break below the 332.04 support. All right, next up we have Meta. Oh my lord. Nice. NICE. There we go. Only took 5 tries. Forming a nice flat top. / recovery pattern after Friday's sell-off. Looking at the 721.13 resistance for entry. Playing this through the next resistance. At 721.89. Targeting momentum above 722. Final target will be, actually, I'm not even going to put a final target. All right. MU looking at the 198.25 resistance. All right, there we go. If we don't have the right momentum to get us through the all-time high, I will be looking to take the 201 all-time high as a separate trade. NVIDIA. All right, there we go. OKLO. I think we just broke another new all-time high. Yeah, we just did. Okay, that is gonna stay off the watch list then. Or actually, I might put it down here underneath AVGO and only have that just in case we set up some type of pre-market level. All right. So Apple is downside, AMD is downside, ARM is upside, coin is downside, upside, upside, upside. Oh. Upside and upside. Actually, this one is to be determined, so we'll just make it pink or purple or whatever that is. But that is the watch list that I've got for tomorrow and probably the rest of the week. I highly doubt we see all of these happen tomorrow, and honestly, we might not see any of these happen tomorrow. So the best we can do the night before is just get a good idea of what the possibilities are for the day to come, and that is what I've got. So we have about 15 minutes left here of the stream, so if you guys want to turn this into a Q&A, feel free. Also, if you guys want to trade live with me and the team, click the first link in the description. There's a 3-day free trial. Take advantage of it, and I would love to see you guys in there for pre-market review tomorrow. But like I said, if you guys want to take this time to turn this into a Q&A, feel free to ask me your questions, and I am here to answer. And also, in the meantime, I'm going to send this watch list to the chat. If you're not in there, which you definitely should be, then I guess you guys can just pirate it and screenshot it off of my live stream right here. All right, do we have any questions? If we don't, we can wrap it up. But once again, I'll give you guys a little bit of time here to figure out if you have any questions or ask whatever questions you have, but don't be shy. And if you have none, doing the Lord's work. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate you as well. I'm going to give it exactly, hold on, we got 3 seconds here to, I'm going to give it exactly 2 minutes here. If anybody has any questions, ask them. If there are no questions asked in 2 minutes, there's no questions asked in 2 minutes, then we're going to wrap it up. Yeah. That would be between you and Nikita. If I had control of what other people were doing, there would be a lot more content going out and a lot more stuff being done. So the last thing that I am worried about having anybody do is turn on a Minecraft server, but that would be between you and him. What do you think out MP? What do I think about MP? Is that a stock? What do I think about MP? Is it worth trading in the afternoon? I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, there's some people that thrive in the afternoon. I am not one of them. I think the reason that we trade in the morning is because typically the best volume and the best, well, not the best, but the best volume and the most volatility is close to market open. And that is why I trade close to market open. And I'm pretty much gone after that. And I also have a rule for myself, just to keep myself in check, that unless I plan otherwise, and by plan otherwise, I mean before market opens. If I plan to come back in the afternoon, then I am allowed to come back in the afternoon. But very rarely does that happen. But my rule for myself is once I get off of the charts, once I get off of my computer, I don't come back. Now, once again, there's some times where that can change. If there's a really, really big setup and a really important level that I've been waiting on for a long time, and I set an alert and I get my alert and I come back to my computer, that is all right. But once again, very, very rarely do I do that. What's my strategy? What do you look for when entering a trade? So I trade breakouts. I guess I don't have a super brief way of summarizing my strategy other than I trade breakouts. My strategy mainly, I mean, other than just the baseline things that you need to trade breakouts, like being able to read price action, being able to read strength and weakness compared to the market, level 2, time and sales, all that good stuff. My strategy is mainly based off of my risk to reward. Like, I think that is the most important part of my strategy, is my risk to reward. And I talk about risk to reward all the time. I don't think you should be taking trades solely based off of risk to reward, but like that truly is the biggest and most important thing in any type of trading, is your risk to reward. And then obviously your win rate as well matters, but your risk to reward matters a lot more. And the reason that I say that's a very big part of my strategy is because people can ask for, what's your win rate? What's your blah, 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 whatever. You could have a 99% win rate and still be red. Right? And I can go to the extreme and say the other side of that. You could have a 1% win rate and be green. Now, that's typically not, I don't think you're going to see any good or high quality trader with a 1% win rate that's also green. That means they got really lucky one time. But like realistically, for most people that are struggling as traders are probably anywhere between the 60 to 70% win rate. And with a 60 to 70% win rate, you should always be green. If you have a 60 to 70% win rate and you're not green overall, guess what? It's super, super easy for that to happen. And the reason that you're not green is because your risk to reward on your trades is garbage. So I would imagine that you're pretty new here, or maybe this is your first time tuning into the stream. Feel free to let me know. I don't really know. I don't recognize the name. But either way, the main thing is with risk to reward, and I'll summarize this as easily as I can. You could flip a trade or flip a coin 100 times, and statistically, maybe not in 100 times, but as that control group gets larger, your win rate should be about 50-50. You could flip a coin and take however many random trades, and you should be green half the time. Now, if you have a 1-to-1 risk to reward, bare minimum, and you are right half the time, you will be a break-even trader, which is a lot better than most people can say. Most people take a long time to get to the break-even point, right? So knowing that, and knowing that if you have the slightest bit of edge, which could be a good setup, just having a setup in general, that's like the absolute slightest bit of edge, right? You could have a setup rather than just taking random trades. If you have a setup and a bare minimum 1-to-1 risk to reward, you should be green. Once again, rather than just taking random trades. Now also, if you increase that and you say you're only right half the time, but your risk to reward is 1-to-2 on all the trades that you're right on, you are risking $1 to make $2, right? You're going to be a profitable trader. So it's super, super easy once you put it in terms like that. But I think that's the thing that would make my strategy any different than the majority of gurus you see, because a lot of them don't really point any of that stuff out, and that is really the most important part of your trading. So the strategy, honestly, it's super simple. The strategy is very, very simple. You need momentum on a stock that has a support or resistance level. You need that stock to be either stronger or weaker than the market, depending on what direction you're looking for. Like, honestly, the strategy is extremely simple. It is the mastering your mind and also getting your risk to reward on your trades in check. That is the difficult part for people, which is why I'm here. The setups, once again, maybe charting, all this stuff is going to be difficult if you're brand new, right? Charting is going to be difficult. Execution is going to be difficult. Pretty much everything's going to be difficult if you're new. But once you've been doing it for a little bit, you'll realize that charting is really super easy. The execution gets pretty easy as well once you know what to do. And that's why I'm here. Yeah, I know. I saw that earlier. 10:35, it decided it wanted to make a move. It is what it is. There's always another day. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. But yeah, guys. All right, sweet. Thank you guys for sticking around. Once again, if you're not in the floor and you want to trade live with me and the team, click that first link in the description and use the free trial. It's free. You might as well take advantage of it. Here is the watch list one last time before we sign off here. But for everybody in the floor, I will see you first thing in the morning for pre-market review. Let's crush it tomorrow, guys.